Chapter 11. Since it is a performance, we must protect the audience. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Rasengan. The fourth generation Hokage Namikaze Minato's genius work, Muji Ninjutsu, does not require any chakra changes initially. It is a ninjutsu with a very high upper limit and a very low lower limit. That kid Naruto relied on this move to punch through the finale. Releasing this Muji ninjutsu requires extremely high chakra micromanipulation and control abilities. Those with poor abilities may even need a shadow clone to assist. As the initiate and common researcher of this technique, Chen naturally doesn't have to go through so much trouble. The blue cyclone kept brewing in his hands, gradually gathering into the size of a football, and then began to become a little unstable, and Chen also felt that this was probably the limit of his control. Sure enough. You still can't become fat in one bite. Chen, who wanted to directly use the advanced version of the Rasengan, the Dayu Rasengan, shook his head and waved his hand to disperse the accumulated energy. After stretching, the sound of crackling beans could be heard all over his body. The young man twisted his neck and decided to go say hello to Douluo and the others first. Ouch! The long howl of wolves came from all directions, and the boy's step stopped in place. At some point, several gray wolves surrounded him. Hey, I really got carried away and my vigilance dropped. The young man was slightly annoyed. The joy of obtaining the soul ring and studying soul skills made him forget to investigate the surrounding situation, and he was not even aware of the approach of this group of wolves. This is a taboo and should not be done again in the future. Chen, who silently remembered this in his heart, shook his head and scanned the increasingly more bloody eyes around him with his black eyes. He saw the undisguised greed in their eyes for him and the corpse of the soul beast. Were you attracted here by the energy fluctuations? You are really brave. Chen chuckled and focused on the wolf in the front that was obviously larger than the other wolves. Unlike other wolves that are full of greed, this wolf is not only larger in size, but also has smoother and shiny fur, and even has a little more cunning and agility in its eyes. 1,000-year-old soul beast. You came just in time. 1,000-year-old soul beasts already have a strong instinct to seek benefits and avoid harm, but they can't stand the smell coming from here. It's just too fragrant. Ugh! It roared lowly and leaned down, while the surrounding wolves seemed to have received some order. They howled together, condensed green light in their mouths, and spit out a wind blade. The dense wind blade surged toward Chen. Although they were all 10-year soul beasts, with only a few 100-year soul beasts among them, the ants could still kill an elephant, not to mention that every blow could kill an elephant. An ordinary soul master was cut in half. Careful! Douluo and Ghost Douluo ignored the complicated emotions in their hearts and immediately wanted to take action, but they both stopped, because they saw the young man waving his hands. Don't be too arrogant, kid, there are century-old soul beasts here. Douluo was furious, understanding that the young man had just been promoted and wanted to try soul skills, but the question is this a target you can use to practice? This is a group of 10-year soul beasts plus a 100-year soul beast, and the leader is even a 1,000-year soul beast. Forget it, let's just watch it first. If the situation is not right, we will take action. Don't forget, he just absorbed the 1,000-year soul ring. Ghost Douluo grabbed him and shook his head. Yuiguan suddenly stopped. Yes, the first soul ring in 1,000 years, this is something unprecedented. How strong it is, they themselves don't know. Then, Douluo and Ghost Douluo once again saw a scene that subverted their perceptions. Countless dense wind blades surrounded the young man in all directions, almost cutting off any place for him to escape. Wolfhead is not a fool. He must not be a simple person to survive in such a place. Therefore, from the beginning, he struck with all his strength. However, it did not see any fearful expression on the face of the human boy at the center of the attack. It still had the indifferent smile from the beginning. Then, the wolf leader saw that the boy's eyes suddenly turned into a scarlet and unknown color. Bang bang bang. There was no time to think about what the change was. In an instant, the attack had arrived. Mud splashed, smoke scattered, and a large amount of white smoke spread from Chen's position. Although he was sure that this kid didn't need their help, Douluo couldn't help but feel nervous when he saw this scene. However, when the smoke and dust dissipated, both Wolf Head, Douluo, and Ghost Douluo all had their eyes widened. The ground was cut into a mess by the wind blade, but where the boy was originally, his figure was no longer there. Replaced by a piece of broken wood, disappeared. "Hey, look here." The chuckle attracted the attention of the two men and the beast, and then they saw that the young man was standing on a big tree behind them at some unknown time. Moving at high speed, or what? Douluo frowned. It can't be teleportation, right? It's a combination of the two. Ghost Douluo thought for a moment, a hint of shock flashed in his eyes. Use the instant burst of movement speed to leave, and then replace yourself with wood. What an exquisite design. If you are fighting against a soul master, this move can be very effective. As a titled Douluo who is good at speed, Goemei can naturally analyze the secret behind this. The speed of that instant burst was beyond the reach of a normal great soul master or even a soul master. As for the replacement, even soul master couldn't analyze it because he was caught off guard. It was a very practical soul skill for both offense and defense. Should we say it is worthy of being the first soul skill in 1,000 years? It is really extraordinary. He sighed. Compared with the two people's size, the wolf head was a little horrified at this moment. Not only was the inevitable attack easily avoided, it couldn't see how the human did it, and, although it was only a moment, it still felt the terrifying aura emitted by the two people watching from a distance. Should we retreat? It struggled to look at the corpse of the Linwu silkworm and the white-haired boy on the ground. As long as it ate them, it would have the hope of breaking through to a 10,000-year soul beast. A 10,000-year soul beast, even in this forest, it can definitely be called a hegemon. If Chen knew what it was thinking, he would definitely tell it that the young man was too naive. A primary 10,000-year soul beast, let alone a hegemon, is at most a big cannon fodder in this forest. Little did they know that the 100,000-year soul beasts were guarding the core area. With a turn of his eyes, the wolf head looked at the followers around him waiting for his orders, and a trace of cruelty flashed in his bloodshot eyes. As long as he could achieve a 10,000-year soul beast, some sacrifices were acceptable. Roar! It howled to the sky, and the wolf pack suddenly split into two groups, half of which besieged Chen, while the other half rushed towards Douluo and Ghost Douluo. The sudden change made the three of them slightly stunned. Chen's mind turned, and he understood the wolf head's plan. Do you want to use the lives of the trash to interfere with Douluo and Ghost Douluo, and then set the target on me? The young man shook his head and laughed. Smart approach, but a pity. Boom! Green energy burst out from the boy's body, dust flew, and his naked upper body was stained with a light red. His white hair was blown upward by the violent energy fluctuations, and his blood-red eyes were also stained with a layer of high fighting spirit. Exhaling a hot breath, the boy clenched his fists, tilted his head, and looked at the wolf head with cold hair standing on end. Since this is a performance, then I can't let the audience be disturbed. Point 8 Gates of Duanjia, the third gate of life, open. Chapter 12 The Rasengan shows its power for the first time, killing the 1,000-year-old soul beast. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Powerful. Unprecedentedly powerful. Feeling the explosive power coming from the muscles and bones, Chen nodded with satisfaction. The 8-gate armor formation is indeed the #1 taijutsu in the ninja world. It is only the third gate that gives him such a powerful ability. The young man had a hunch that now he could hang up the Millennium Wolf Soul Beast and beat it. It's just a pity that the body is not strong enough. Now the duration of opening the third door is only about 1 minute, so I can fight quickly. However, there is enough time. Chen grinned slightly, revealing his white teeth, and looked at the wolf head who had begun to tremble with blood-colored eyes as he stepped back. Anxiety, you are the last one. The young man tiptoed gently, pang. The young boy's foothold, the branch instantly shattered due to the force of the shock. A green stream of light flashed through a surging air wave, carrying a violent power, and instantly appeared in front of the shocked Douluo. The strong wind, their hair and robes were rolled up, but the two of them seemed undecided, pang pang. Amidst the screams, the wolves that attacked the two of them flew out one after another, their bodies twisted into incredible angles, as if they could not survive. For a moment, there was nothing around them. The young man nodded towards the two of them as a greeting, and then instantly turned into blue light and disappeared. Isn't this intensity already close to the soul sect level? This is also the ability of a 1,000-year soul ring. Can someone be promoted from a soul master to a soul sect at once? What a joke. Douluo pointed at Chen tremblingly, his lips trembling. Even the martial spirit avatar doesn't have the ability to cross level 30 at once, does it? Douluo remained silent. He didn't know what adjectives to use to describe the current situation. Today, in just less than 2 hours, this young man had already refreshed their understanding several times. If the techniques of instantaneous body and substitute are still within their understanding, this first level can increase such terrifying strength. They have never seen it, not even the 4th, 5th, or even martial soul true body. None of them have such a powerful ability to improve, and this is just Chen's first step. That's really the true form of Wuhuan. Douluo no longer dared to think about it. Screams rang out one after another, air waves surged, and dust flew. Within a few breaths, the only one left alive was the wolf that retreated dozens of meters. The latter's legs were weak and he let out a cry of fear. Whimper, too fast, too fast. In less than a few breaths, his own tribe was wiped out by this human being, this little human being. Escape, you must escape quickly. I can't die here. The tribe can still reproduce after death. I want to live. I want to become a 10,000-year soul beast. Click, after breaking the neck of the last wolf, the boy threw it away without even looking at the floating yellow soul ring, and turned to look at the shivering Millennium Wolf soul beast. Are you so brave? How can you still hold back from running after this? The young man looked at the Millennium Wolf spirit beast that had collapsed on the ground with some surprise, and then nodded appreciatively. Fortunately, the Millennium Wolf cannot understand the meaning of human language and cannot speak, otherwise he would have cursed loudly. I don't want to run away. My legs are too weak and I can't run. In that case, I will give you a happy death. Chen dispersed the 8 armor formations and took a breath. This move is cool, but it consumes a lot of chakra and puts a heavy load on the body. Otherwise, if he activates the 8 gates of Duanjia and then activates the first soul skill, he will be even stronger. Of course, the persistence time will also be directly shortened by at least half. Celebrate, you should be the first creature in this world to die from this move. Buzz. The boy stretched out his right hand, and the chakra quickly gathered, forming a blue, constantly rotating energy group. The awe-inspiring fluctuations attracted the attention of Douluo and Douluo. That is. The two of them stared blankly at the small ball of light, feeling the huge destructive power contained in it. Whoosh. The boy's figure disappeared in an instant, and when he reappeared, he was already on top of the Millennium Wolf, who was still trying to retreat. The art of instantaneous body, and Rasengan. Boom boom boom. In the horrified and frightened eyes of the Millennium Wolf soul beast, a blue ball of light burst out from its body, like a meteor carrying the power of soaring into the sky, breaking hundreds of trees and flying 100 meters away. And after smashing another small hill-like rock, he stopped. Click. Trees collapsed one after another, forming a 100-meter-long hollow. Gudu. Douluo swallowed his saliva and pointed at the scene that looked like a natural disaster, his voice trembling. Is this also the soul skill of the first soul ring? That at this moment, Yuguan deeply doubted whether his 1,000-year soul ring was fake. Of course, he can now do this level of destruction, even more exaggeratedly, but, he is a titled Douluo. Chen is just a soul master, a soul master. Is this his first soul ring? High-speed movement, replacement, the ability to strengthen by leaping 30 levels at a time, and the extremely powerful attack ability with almost no prelude to release, penetrating impact. Douluo took a deep breath, looked at the young man who seemed to be a little weak, and said as if he was dreaming. The first soul ring has such comprehensive abilities. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would have thought it was a fantasy. This is no longer genius. This child is a monster, an absolute monster. I'm afraid it's unlikely that such a person will appear in the next 10 or 100 years. Fortunately, such a person appears in my Wuhuan palace, otherwise. Gue Mei looked at Yueguan, and both of them saw the complexity in his eyes. When Su Chen came over after receiving the bodies of the 1,000-year wolf head and the black silkworm into the storage soul guide, he found that the two titled Douluo were looking at him with eyes sizing up monsters. Well, it seems that my goal has been achieved. Judging from this reaction, it seems that he used too much force, the young man thought to himself. Two elders, Don't talk yet, let me slow down first. Ju Douluo took a deep breath and looked at the handsome boy with a bare upper body and well-proportioned muscles in front of him. There was no pride or excitement in those black eyes, only a composure that was totally inappropriate for his age. Yuguan, who originally wanted to suppress his energy, was suddenly discouraged. This guy is really a fucking monster, whether it's his talent, strength, or his character. Why can you be so calm? You just killed 2,000-year-old soul beasts. Put on your clothes first. Ghost Douluo was calmer. He took out a black robe from the storage soul guide and handed it to Su Chen. You boy, you really opened the eyes of us two old guys. Seeing the latter put on his clothes, Gue Mei couldn't help but smile bitterly, and then asked with some curiosity, well, can you tell us how you killed the Millennium Linwu Silkworm, which is the first Millennium Soul Beast? Of course, it's okay not to say anything if it's inconvenient. Su Chen shook his head. Of course, this is not a private matter. Before I set off, my father gave me a special soul guide, which contained his full power attack. It can only be used once, just rely on I just took care of that soul beast. This was what he had planned for a long time, and the attack of the soul guide and Su Xiao had also been arranged in advance. At present, Yuan Fan has only shown the ability to compete with the Millennium Soul Beast, which is far from being coveted. Besides, this is not an important thing. Sure enough, Gue Mei nodded thoughtfully. That's right, I understand. Let's go back first. We'll talk about the rest when we return to Wuhuan Hall. Just as Su Chen expected, Ghost Douluo just asked casually, although there are few such soul guides, they are not unavailable. He is just curious. After all, Lin Wuji Silkworm is the best among the 1,000-year soul beasts, but it is only a 1,000-year soul beast. Chapter 13. This is the last time of forgiveness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Maybe there are some secrets, but so what? In Ghost Douluo's opinion, there is nothing more important than Su Chen himself now. It seems that the plan has to be terminated ahead of schedule. The Linwu Silkworm, a soul beast that has not appeared for thousands of years, has appeared in the periphery. It is possible that there have been some changes in the Xingdo Great Forest that we don't know about. Ghost Douluo frowned and said solemnly, is the Linwu Silkworm the soul beast with his first soul ring? Su Chen was a little curious, but now is obviously not the time to ask. He decided to look up the information himself after returning. Speaking of which, he deliberately showed so much. After returning, he should have the opportunity to meet the Pope, right? No problem. Ju Douluo nodded. Although he is still in a complicated mood at the moment, he also knows the importance of things, especially after Su Chen showed such a demonic side. Sending Su Chen safely back to the Daowu Soul Hall is the top priority. After making up their minds, the three of them rushed all the way and quickly arrived at the gathering place. After telling Su Chen not to run around, the two Douluos, Ju and Gue, also left in a hurry. Titled Douluo helped to hunt soul rings, especially when they were in a hurry, so the speed was not fast. After a while, Su Chen felt some subtle fluctuations in soul power, because someone was absorbing soul rings. Before absorbing soul rings, this kind of fluctuation was extremely difficult to detect, but now, as long as you focus a little, it seems that getting soul rings has a lot of influence on me. Su Chen shook his head and began to think about the countermeasures later. I need resources, money, and influence. Then, it is very necessary to expose it to the eyes of the high-level people of the Spirit Hall in advance, which is why he showed some of his abilities in front of Ju Douluo and Ghost Douluo. If you want to have the right to speak, you must reflect your own value and must show it in the eyes of people who know the goods. Bibi Dong is his target, the youngest pope of the Spirit Hall. In the next few decades, she has achieved the ultimate control and expansion of the Spirit Hall's power, and the overall strength has also risen by more than one level. putting aside some personal opinions. This woman is the top of this continent in terms of both intelligence and strength. If it weren't for the protagonist's halo, she would definitely get what she wants. Smart partners are particularly important to Chen, and he doesn't want to waste time on fools. Just like in the ninja world, after he reached a deep cooperation with Orochimaru, the first thing he did was to completely cut off his relationship with Danzo. More importantly, Bibi Dong's weaknesses are very obvious, and in a sense, unexpectedly simple. This is a good thing for Chen. After all, there is no substantial conflict between his goals and Bibi Dong's. Rustle. The subtle sound of the bushes woke the boy up from his thinking, but Chen lost interest after just looking up. Ha 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 ha, I'm back. Yen squeezed out of the bushes with all his strength and laughed joyfully, but the moment he saw Chen, his laughter stopped abruptly, and he subconsciously shrank his neck. Just a moment later, he remembered something, his bent back straightened again, and his expression became proud and arrogant. Hey, you, thought he put his hands on his waist, pointed at Chen, and snorted coldly. You also got the first spirit ring, don't you dare to compete with me. That this idiot boy, Chen was too lazy to pay attention to him, and continued to close his eyes and rest, thinking about his plan in his mind. Tang San should have just traveled through time this year, and he still has about 10 years to plan, but this body is still young at present, and what it can do is very limited. Even if he gets Bibi Dong's trust and support, he can only use the transformation technique to come forward to do some things, but this is somewhat contrary to his plan. 6 years old is still too young after all. If he wants to stand on the front stage and show his face in the spirit hall, he must be at least 12 or 13 years old. Chen had a headache. What, coward, you don't dare. I know you're a coward. However, when Yen saw Chen ignoring him, he walked forward angrily, and without saying a word, he actually released his martial spirit directly. The tall flame lord was wrapped in a layer of magma, emitting a scorching temperature, and a yellow 100-year soul ring was wrapped around it, with a majestic aura. Did you see it? This is a 100-year soul ring. As long as you kneel down and apologize now and admit that you are a coward, I won't do anything to you, otherwise. Let you taste the taste of a 100-year soul skill. The white-haired boy who was interrupted frowned, stared at Yen with his dark eyes, and spit out a word coldly. Get out. The coldness in the boy's black eyes was exactly the same as that day. Yen was instinctively frightened and took a step back. The fighting spirit in his heart was immediately reduced by half, but he moved his ears and heard the voices of Xiaoyu and Hulaina. If they could defeat Chen in front of them, would Hulaina be able to? Thinking of this, Yen gritted his teeth and took a step forward despite his fear. You dare. Boom! The white-haired boy suddenly disappeared with a bang, and appeared in front of Yen in the blink of an eye. In his raised right hand, a blue light ball condensed into shape, and his dark eyes were full of indifferent murderous intent. The strong wind scraped Yen's face, but at this moment, he had no time to care. The murderous intent in the boy's eyes and the dark blue in his hand, like the scythe of the god of death, completely enveloped him. Will die, will die, will die. Several scarlet characters flashed in Yan's mind, and the chill of death rushed from his spine to the top of his head, making him feel like he was falling into an ice cellar. Ah! Perhaps it was the instinct of survival that allowed this talented genius to escape from the extreme fear for a moment, and the yellow 100-year soul ring bloomed with an extremely bright light at this moment. Hell magma rush. The red magma rushed into the sky and rushed towards Chen, and this scene happened to be seen by Hulaina, Xiaoyu and others who came, but things happened too fast, they had no time to react, and could only watch the magma drown Chen. Chen! Hulaina screamed, and Xiaoyu also frowned, but the next second, both of them widened their eyes in astonishment. The scorching magma that rushed into the sky even lasted less than half a second in front of the azure light ball, and then it was completely annihilated and disappeared. At this time, the only thing left on the field was that bright blue. Boom! The strong wind brought by the violent explosion blew up everyone's hair, their clothes rustled, the smoke and dust spread, the grass and soil splashed, and the crackling sound hit the trees like raindrops. Whoosh! The figures of Douluo and Ghost Douluo appeared instantly. They waved their hands with ugly faces, and the strong wind blew away the smoke completely, revealing the scene inside. The original flat grass had disappeared, replaced by a spiral pit. Yen stood in the center, his face pale, his legs trembling constantly, and water droplets dripping down. The whole person was between fainting and awake. This is the last time I will forgive you. If there is a next time, you can bury yourself here. The white-haired boy slowly retracted his right hand, slowly retracted his chakra, nodded slightly to everyone, and then sat back on his own. He didn't want to cause more twists and turns, but it didn't mean he had a lot of patience. Holding back was a sign of respect and kindness to Ju and Gue, the two Douluo, and Bibi Dong behind them. Hey, I knew it. How could this kid be so blind? Ju Douluo shook his head. This kid has good talent, but he likes to die too much. Fortunately, Chen did not do anything ruthlessly, otherwise, even if he killed him, the spirit hall would not be able to do anything to Chen. Yen is rare, but Chen is unique. Xiaoyu, go and help Yen. He probably can't walk normally. Xiaoyu. Ju Douluo raised his eyebrows, turned around and saw the stunned little faces, and suddenly felt helpless. Well, I'll do it myself. Chen's battle ended quickly, but the gradually fading purple ring still deeply hurt everyone's eyes. The first soul ring of 1,000 years. Xiaoyu stared at the fading purple, his throat was a little dry, and his eyes were full of disbelief. This Hulaina and another girl stood there completely. Chapter 14 Crisis from the Star Forest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Until a few people got on the carriage back, the atmosphere was still filled with dead silence. Even the chrysanthemum ghost Douluo couldn't stand the stimulation brought by Chen, let alone these young children. The 1,000-year soul ring and its astonishing destructive power all gave them an unprecedented shock. After all, Chen is the same 6 years old as them. Old ghost, these children won't be damaged by the blow, right? In front of the carriage, Ju Douluo raised his delicate eyebrows and looked at the few people who were depressed except Chen. Ever since they saw Chen's almost perfect move, several people had fallen into such a depressed state, especially Yen. The child looked at Chen with nothing but fear in his eyes, which seemed to have left a huge psychological shadow. Ju Douluo expressed his understanding. The scary thing is not that there is a gap between him and a genius, but that you can't even see the end of the gap between him and a genius. However, he thinks this is a good thing. People who overestimate their capabilities often die early. At least it can help them recognize the gap between themselves and others in advance. As for whether he has any psychological problems, that's not what he should care about. If he can't bear this setback, then stop being a soul master and just go and lie down at home. Let's not talk about these boys. Do you think there is something wrong with the big forest? Ghost Douluo shook his head and looked into the distance with some worry. There is absolutely no way that the Linwu silkworm is the sole beast that appears on the edge, including the Millennium Wolf. Even though he was far away, the overwhelming green still occupied his entire field of vision. This magnificent green sea, which occupies an area close to the Balik Kingdom, is entrenched in the center of the continent and divides the Tiendo Empire and the Star Luo Empire. So far, the center of the Great Forest is still the human Jedi. It is a forbidden area where even titled Douluo is very likely to fall. Yes, fortunately, we came out safely with these little beans. Ju Douluo was convinced, the appearance of soul beasts like the Linwu silkworm often means a big battle. If there really is a battle of that level, they don't care, but these little guys may not be able to protect them. But fortunately, it's okay now. Speaking of Chen, this guy. Hey, do you think I can have some of this Linwu silkworm? I heard that it's a good tonic, and it's a must-have for beauty and beauty. Yu Guan held her charming face, her eyes shining brightly. If it weren't for that obvious Adam's apple, everyone would think that he was a charming woman. You are so. Ghost Douluo looked at his old friend speechlessly, ignoring him, and there was still doubt in his eyebrows. The previous pope died not long ago, and the new pope just took office. There was already constant turmoil within the Wuhuan palace. The three sects and the empire were eyeing her, and she could not allow anything extra to affect her energy. I hope nothing goes wrong in the Star Do forest. Snap, snap, blood flowed, and terrified whimpers echoed in the silence. The broken wolf beast lay shivering in a pool of blood, with a huge black claw comparable to its body pressing on its head. "Huh, you're telling me that your tribe and that tonic were all killed by a little kid?" A roar like a drum exploded in its ears, and the wolf screamed, blood spurted out of its ears, and it drooped weakly. What a waste! The black claw pressed down hard, and the wolf beast didn't even scream, and its entire body became a thin piece. A huge black shadow stood up in front of the corpse, blocking the huge hole created by Chen and blocking the falling sunlight, plunging the area into darkness again. "What should we do?" "It's a supplement for your majesty. We've raised it for so long, and then let humans take it away." The sound of an urn came, and another black figure stood beside it. The saliva dripping from its mouth fell on the ground, igniting sparks one after another. The soil was quickly burned into a black crystal state by the high temperature. "Damn humans!" Boom. A huge roar exploded, and countless birds flew away. Countless weak soul beasts wailed and fell to the ground screaming. The huge black shadow with a radius of a kilometer had turned into a ruined land that was completely shattered by violence. "I'm going to eat you." The black shadow looked up to the sky and roared, and countless soul beasts trembled. "Well, Chen, it's time to eat." The girl carefully knocked on the car window. Almost the moment she spoke, Chen opened her eyes, and blood and white flashed in the young man's eyes. Hyena, who was outside, couldn't help feeling cold all over and shivering. At that moment, she felt as if she was being looked at from the inside out and locked tightly by a wild beast. "Well, I understand, you go ahead." The boy's faint voice came from inside. It was obviously without any emotion, but Hyena felt relaxed all over, and the warmth of the sun returned to her body. "Is that his current power?" The girl was in a trance. "It turns out that he is so powerful now. Obviously we all woke up together a few days ago, but we didn't expect that the distance now has become so far away." "Okay, then hurry up." She sighed a little lowly and turned to leave. Chen in the carriage closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, they turned into those dark and bright eyes again. He looked in the direction of the Douluo forest with some feeling. In a light sleep, Chen felt as if something powerful had locked onto him. When he was awakened, he could not control his own strength. "Have you been targeted? It seems that I can't go to the Douluo Great Forest during this period of time." The young man murmured. He turned his eyes to the Linwu silkworm in the storage soul guide. "It seems that you are an extraordinary soul beast." Getting off the carriage, feeling the comfortable warmth of the sun, the young man couldn't help stretching. The weather was sunny and the breeze was blowing. Wuhuan City was already within reach, perhaps because he was shocked by the changes in the Douluo Great Forest. He hurried back even faster, and forced the time to be advanced by another day. He almost solved the problem of eating, drinking and sleeping in the carriage. It was so urgent that even Chen felt a little tired, and couldn't help but take a nap. Seeing that Wuhuan City was just around the corner, the two Douluo finally put down their worries, so they put the few people down, ate something good, washed up and had a good rest. After all, there was still a meeting with the Pope later, and they couldn't just go there in such a dusty state. After eating an extremely sumptuous meal, the little ones all showed happy smiles. Nothing is more soothing than delicious food after a long journey. "Okay, after going back today, take a rest for a night. Tomorrow morning, it will be the same place. His Holiness the Pope will summon you." Juegue Douluo sent the few people to the city, gave a few instructions, and told the guards to send them home, and then the two hurriedly left. There were too many things that happened this time, and they were all very important, and they needed to be reported as soon as possible. The changes in the Douluo Great Forest, the Linwu silkworm, the soul rings of several boys, and Chen. Exquisite body movements, clever use of soul power, miraculous dart-throwing skills, the first soul ring of 1,000 years, and more than 4 powerful soul skills. Talented by nature, evil-looking, no matter what adjectives, they can't describe the white-haired boy. Within 10 years, this boy will be famous in the continent. When thinking of this, Juegue Douluo couldn't help but get excited. Chapter 16 Old Man, I'm here with a powerful weapon to slap you in the face. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When the Juegue Douluo found Chen, the latter had already rested. When Su Xiao came back in the afternoon, when he learned about his son's abilities, he almost fainted from excitement. He was comforted for a long time before he returned to normal. It just exhausted Chen. Even though he had been born in 2 lifetimes, he really didn't know how to comfort others, so, after Su Xiao calmed down, he breathed a sigh of relief. After all, resting during the day is not that good. The white-haired boy was really helpless when he was awakened by the excited and panicked Su Xiao, but when he saw the familiar duo in the living room, he suddenly understood what was going on. Please wait a moment. Before the eager Ju Douluo could say anything, the young man nodded slightly, turned around and returned to the room. Ju Douluo opened his mouth, originally wanting to urge, but looking at the young man's unhurried back, somehow, his restless heart slowly calmed down. After thinking about it, he and Ghost Douluo sat down and waited quietly. Oh, this kid, sir, please wait a moment, I'll call him right now. This made Su Xiao anxious. After pouring the tea, he quickly got up and went to call Su Chen. Does this kid know who these two are? Not only is he a well-known strong man in the mainland, but he is also a popular person next to the new pope. If he gets connected, wouldn't he be able to rise to prominence in the spirit hall in the future? This is a big shot that you can't even try to ingratiate yourself with. I just don't quite understand why such a big shot came to his home looking for Chen so late. It couldn't be that Chen alerted the Pope, right? It doesn't matter, we just wait. Ju Douluo reached out to hold him and shook his head. Seeing the big shot like this, Su Xiao had no choice but to sit down in embarrassment. Fortunately, Su Chen didn't keep them waiting for too long. After a while, the young man wiped his steamy hair and walked out. The 3 of them looked at each other. Ju Douluo was stunned and looked at Su Chen in surprise, who had changed into decent clothes and finished washing. Do you know where we are going? Well, if nothing else happens, we should meet with the Pope in advance. We can discuss the specific issues on the way. The young man nodded, handed the towel to Su Xiao who was stunned at the side, and walked out first. Jugue Douluo looked at each other and followed suit. Only Su Xiao stayed there stupidly, looking at the towels and then at the backs of several people. Really, did you really alarm the Pope? That's what I said it would be. Ju Douluo said somewhat seriously. So, you need to show your abilities with all your strength, and the best thing you can do is be more exaggerated. Ghost Douluo also nodded. No danger, however. No. But before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by a white-haired boy. His dark eyes looked at Ju Douluo and Ghost Douluo, word by word. There must be danger. The 2 of them were stunned for a moment, and then their expressions changed drastically. You mean? Su Chen nodded. Yes, if nothing else happens, he should find someone to spar with me, and then take the opportunity to get seriously injured, or simply. The white-haired boy did not continue, but the other 2 people present understood what he meant. Damn old thing, Ju Douluo cursed angrily. Based on his understanding of Guangling Douluo, this kind of thing is not possible, but the probability is extremely high. The situation is now at an impasse. It was absolutely impossible to send Su Chen there even though he knew he was in danger. Ruining a future peerless genius just for the sake of a momentary dispute was what only a fool would do. But if you just retreat like this, Yu Guan himself is not afraid of making things difficult and punishing him, but he is afraid that His Majesty the Pope will find it even more difficult as a result. For a moment, Ju Douluo was in a dilemma. Let me take full responsibility. His Majesty the Pope will not blame me if he finds out. After hesitating for a moment, Yu Guan gritted his teeth and said, no matter what, we can't let anything happen to Su Chen. Let's bear it together, otherwise you may lose more than just your position on the judicial team. The ghost shook his head, looking at the white-haired boy's calm and composed look. His heart moved. Su Chen, what can you do? Although he felt that putting this kind of pressure on a 6-year-old child was a bit insane, the evil figure displayed by the other party was definitely not just about cultivation. He could analyze the deeper plan of Light Ling Douluo with just a few words. Maybe there will be some good solution. Yes, yes. Su Chen nodded. Ghost Douluo and Ju Douluo's eyes lit up when they heard this. This kid keeps creating surprises. Could it be that this time? Then do nothing, let's go over and accept this competition. The white-haired boy's black eyes shone with calmness as he looked at the two of them. There's no need to mention it again. Don't you understand? You are much more important than this dispute of will. Douluo interrupted him angrily and waved his hand. The worst is punishment and loss of face. Sooner or later you will earn it back. If you are seriously injured or simply die, where can you find Chen? Old ghost, send him back and let him sleep well. Ghost Douluo sighed, but saw a faint smile on the white-haired boy. Two adults, let me ask, will the people he sends out to test surpass Soul Lord? Chen is in a good mood now. Raising that possibility, in addition to telling the two the truth, also meant testing. If they still asked him to take the lead without hesitation, then Chen would have to consider whether to cooperate with Bibi, because from a long-term perspective, it would be very stupid to destroy a genius. He could tolerate his companion's cold-bloodedness, but he could not tolerate short-sightedness and stupidity. Subordinates are the extension of the will of the superiors. Obviously, the reactions of Douluo and Ghost Douluo made him very satisfied, therefore, Chen did not mind helping a little in advance. Nonsense, it will definitely not exceed Soul Master. Do you still want to use Soul Master to deal with a Soul Master? Yuguan replied unhappily, but his face changed halfway through. You mean? Yes. The white-haired boy smiled and nodded. Do you think I'm afraid of a Soul Master? This sounded a bit arrogant, but Ju and Ghost Douluo sadly found that there seemed to be no way to refute it. This person has killed 2,000-year soul beasts. But combat experience. Okay, just ignore what I said. Ju Douluo wanted to give some advice, but found that he had said something nonsense. The gap in strength cannot be compared with combat experience. No matter how experienced a soul master is, he can't kill a 1,000-year-old silkworm and a 1,000-year-old wolf with its tribe alive. Damn, how can this kid be so evil? Ju Douluo and Ghost Douluo grinned with some toothache. I found a solution, but I don't know why. I'm not very happy. It's really uncomfortable to have your IQ and talent crushed by a 6-year-old child. But when he thought about seeing Guangling's expression of eating shit, Douluo couldn't help getting excited again. Just wait, old thing, I'm here with a big killer to smack your face. Chapter 17 Bibi Dong has no way out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Your Majesty, the whereabouts of the Haotian sect are unknown, and Tang Hao has also lost his trace. The law enforcement team is stepping up the search, but... Your Majesty, I think we should attack the Haotian sect directly. Tang Hao is so bold that he must have been instructed by the Haotian sect. Do you have a brain? The attitude of the Chibaoyuli sect and the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex is ambiguous, and Tiendo and Xingluo are eyeing them covetously. If we go to war with the Haotian sect, do you think they will miss this good opportunity? Humph. According to you, our Wuhuan Hall Pope has been beaten to death by others, and we still have to swallow our anger. How will the world view our Wuhuan Hall? You old man is unreasonable. When did I say that I should swallow my anger? It's just that this matter needs to be considered in the long run. Bah. In the Pope's palace, the heated discussion is still going on, but it's a different topic. Ju Douluo and Ghost Douluo just brought a small episode. The largest soul master organization on this continent will not waste too much time on a genius who has not yet grown up. Enough. The cold and incomparable voice with anger suppressed all the quarrels. The peerless beauty sitting on the Pope's throne frowned, her lips slightly pursed, as if she was trying her best to suppress her anger and pain. Her beautiful eyes swept across the people present, and everyone she was looking at couldn't help but feel a chill rising from their backs. The people who had just been arguing with red faces and thick necks suddenly quieted down, and some of them didn't dare to look into her eyes. The beautiful woman took a deep breath and issued her orders in an orderly manner. 6th priest, 7th priest, you go to the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect and invite Sect Master Ning to watch the ceremony and participate in the Pope's succession ceremony. 2 middle-aged men with powerful momentum stood up and saluted. Your Majesty's order. Then, she turned her eyes to the other 2. Elder Porcupine, Ghost Leopard, you two go to the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex and ask the Jade Clan leader to come to my Wuhuan Hall to watch the ceremony. Yes, I obey your majesty's order. Another two people stood up and bowed their hands to accept the order. As for the Haotian sect, Bibi Dong narrowed her beautiful eyes, opened her red lips slightly, and said coldly, "Hand over Tang Hao within 7 days, otherwise, let them disappear on their own." As soon as these words came out, the whole hall was shocked. Everyone took a breath of cold air. This is to force the other two sects of the upper three sects to stand in line. Pope, don't do that, now is not the time to start a war rashly, now. An elder hurriedly stood up, but before he finished speaking, he was glanced at by the beautiful eyes on the high seat, and he couldn't say anything, and stood back with a gloomy expression. The person who wanted to say something could only quietly retract his steps. Everyone knows that the former pope is the mentor of the new pope. His Majesty must be very sad about his death. Who dares to offend her at this time? No one noticed that the beautiful woman on the high seat had a barely perceptible smile on her lips. It would be impossible to make this group of people obey normally. Although the beast is dead, it is not completely useless, just treat it as the remaining heat of the beast. Your Holiness, I think this is inappropriate. However, in the quiet Pope's hall, a sudden voice of opposition suddenly sounded. Everyone looked at it in surprise, wanting to see who dared to oppose His Holiness at this time. When they saw the figure clearly, they immediately understood. The smile of the beautiful woman suddenly froze, the pink fist in her long sleeves clenched tightly, her beautiful eyes looked deeply at the young face, but she felt unspeakable disgust in her heart. Do you have any good ideas? That she forced a smile and asked softly. Elder Guanling, that the latter seemed to sigh helplessly, with a hint of disappointment in his eyes. Your Majesty, you are still too young. What if the 7 Treasures Glazed sect and the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex are unwilling to come? Do we have to go to war with the 3 sects at the same time? The old Pope is willing to support you to ascend to the throne of the Pope, but it does not mean that you can do whatever you want. If you follow your idea, then the Soul Masters of my Wuhuan Hall will suffer heavy losses. That this hypocritical look made Bibi Dong feel sick, but she knew that it was not the time to turn against him. The Guangling is nothing, but behind him are the most loyal supporters of the 6-winged angel lineage, the 4th worshipper, Lion Douluo, and the 2nd worshipper, Golden Crocodile Douluo, who is second only to the great worshipper Chen Daolu. That is a behemoth that she cannot shake at all at this stage. Thinking of this, Bibi Dong could only suppress her anger and asked, can we go to war with Haotian sect alone and the other 2 sects just sit back and watch? The ambitions of Chibaoyoli and Blue Tyrannosaurus Rex are obvious. If we don't take the opportunity to force them to express their opinions, will they stab us in the back after the war? Of course not. Guanling Douluo showed a confident smile. In an emergency, it's not a bad idea for us to be more gentle. We have to avenge Haotian sect, but we don't have to become enemies with the other 2 sects quickly, right? In the name of my Wuhuan Hall, we will use both kindness and force. Chibaoyoli and Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex will surely be grateful and stop interfering in this matter. In this way, how many fewer soldiers will be mobilized and how many fewer people will die? Seemingly very satisfied with his own words, he glanced around, and the people around him understood and complimented him. What a great idea, Elder Guanling. That's right, that's right. In this way, I'm afraid that no soul master will have to die, and these problems can be perfectly solved. Your Highness, the Pope's move is indeed a little ill-considered. Listening to the continuous voices of approval around her, Bibi Dong finally couldn't help it and her face turned ugly. Damn old thing. Not only did he completely deny her plan, but he also used this to imply that she began to despise the lives of low-level soul masters after becoming the Pope. There is no doubt that once this statement spreads, her reputation will be severely hit. Oh, you don't have to say that. Your Highness, the Pope is just a little young and inexperienced. Otherwise, he wouldn't listen to the nonsense of Giju and the other 2 guys, right? Seeing that everyone around had said almost everything, Guangling finally smiled at the silent and beautiful woman, and a hint of pride flashed in his one eye. As long as His Holiness listens to our opinions more in the future, he will definitely grow up quickly, don't you think so? His Holiness. Bibi Dong clenched her fist tightly, and her red lips were almost bitten by her teeth. She knew that this was Guangling's condition, let go of the condition that hit her prestige. The price is to share the current right to speak and give up the genius and the second Douluo of Ghost and Chrysanthemum. Damn, bastard. Bibi Dong's murderous intent surged in her heart, but soon she sadly discovered that although her future achievements would definitely surpass these old things, she was not Guangling Douluo's opponent at all. The right to speak doesn't matter, anyway, it is restricted everywhere now, but Ghost Douluo and Chrysanthemum Douluo are loyal to her. If she gives up, it will definitely chill the hearts of the two, but if she doesn't give up, won't the prestige and reputation that she has worked so hard to build for so long be wasted? This is a naked conspiracy, clipped wings, slowly sidelined, or completely lose the support of the lower-level soul masters. Instant death and slow death. It seems that there is only one choice left in front of her. Is it really necessary to give up Ghost Douluo and Chrysanthemum Douluo? And that Chen. A pair of bright black eyes flashed through Bibi Dong's mind, and she sighed in her heart, try again, if it doesn't work, then. Your Holiness, we are back. Just as she hesitated and struggled, Chrysanthemum Douluo's soft and loud voice suddenly resounded in the hall. Chapter 18. Is there something wrong with the person who proposed this plan? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sudden voice broke the silence in the hall and interrupted Bibi Dong's thinking. She exhaled lightly and calmed her expression. Come in. Since there is no choice, it is better to trust you, Guan. Besides, thinking back to those calm and bright black eyes, she felt a little relieved. Perhaps there will be some surprises. But compared with Bibi Dong, Guangling's mood is not so beautiful. Just now, I clearly saw that this woman was about to compromise, but was interrupted by that boy. Now it seems that this woman seems to be hesitant again. Humph. Guangling Douluo sneered secretly and looked at the door. Since Bibi Dong, you don't know what's good for you and still try to struggle with this absurd thing, don't blame me for being rude. Time goes back to 1 minute ago. How about it? Stunned, right? When I first saw it, I was also shocked for a long time. Ju Douluo looked at the slightly stunned white-haired boy, proudly pointed at the Pope's palace, with an indescribable pride in his tone. This is the place that all soul masters in the continent yearn for, as long as they can have a place in it. Ghost Douluo's eyes were also full of longing. Yeah, it's really shocking. Chen seemed to have just reacted and nodded in admiration. Hey, why do you seem to be not so shocked? Aren't you stunned? Ju Douluo looked at Chen suspiciously. Why do I feel that this kid is a bit perfunctory? No, this palace is really very superior. Okay, sir, let's go in quickly. Chen smiled and said, he didn't lie. This palace, whether in terms of craftsmanship or style, is among the best even with his knowledge, but how shocking it is. For a person who uses Susanoo with bare hands, beats foxes all day long, and occasionally goes to the wet bone forest to see slugs, it's just that. So, it's really hard for him to show shock. As for why he was stunned just now, it was because the immortal super-perception allowed him to hear some very interesting information on the other side of the door. I didn't expect that Bibi Dong would be so frustrated. The boy thought for a while and quickly revised his plan. Well, let's go in. Ju Douluo scratched his head, always feeling that there was something wrong with what the child said, but it didn't matter, it was still important to go in. Pushing open the door, Yu Guan couldn't wait to shout, and the boy's eyes passed through the layers of scrutiny and stayed on the farthest and highest position, the graceful figure, under the gilded crown inlaid with purple gems. There is a pretty face that can be called stunning. The snow-white skin is so delicate that it can be blown away. The facial features are delicate as if they were carved by nature. It is charming but not coquettish, gorgeous but not vulgar, and the long pink hair with gradient color falls casually, which is beautiful beyond description. The purple and gold Pope's robe can't hide the graceful figure at all. The curves are well proportioned, the body is exquisite, and the slender legs overlap. Noble and cold coexist. In the arms that are as white as frost and snow, she quietly leans on a purple and gold scepter, showing the luxurious color. Bibi Dong. The biggest villain in the first part of Douluo Continent, and the most beautiful woman officially designated, it really lives up to her reputation. Chen sighed in his heart, as if noticing the naked gaze of the boy. Bibi Dong's beautiful eyes also looked over. There was curiosity, indifference, and a hint of deep madness in it. Chen understood why. Now, she is at the lowest point in her life. She devoured her beastly master with her own hands, and was abandoned by Yu Xiaojiang, who had no responsibility. Even if she became the Pope, it was difficult. But who would have thought that this woman would almost unify the Douluo Continent in the future, and even sent the destined protagonist Tang San to the Hall of Death? But she has someone in heaven to protect her, and she will be resurrected in a short time. In short, this is a very dangerous woman, but she is also a very pitiful woman. Say she is a good person, at first glance it seems to be quite bad, but if you think about it carefully, there are really few things that can be called bad. Overthrowing the feudal empire and unifying the continent is bad. Looking at the messy ghost after 10,000 years, you can know that unification has more advantages than disadvantages. Moreover, the empire ruled the continent, and even the welfare of free martial soul awakening for ordinary people is gone, not to mention the subsidy for receiving soul coins. Is the feud with the three sects bad? His enemy is my hero. With different positions, how can we simply define good and bad? As for Tang San's family, forget it. No matter how much love between husband and wife and mother and son there is, in the final analysis, aren't they just soul beasts? There's nothing wrong with soul masters hunting soul beasts, right? When the double-standard God King was killing the deep-sea demon whale king, why didn't he think that he was also the husband of a female whale and the father of a little whale? So, Bibi Dong talked about destroying the world every day, but he really didn't do a single bad thing, unlike Abito next door. He said he would destroy the world, but he really did it. After he turned evil, he started killing his master and mistress, and the sins he committed were really countless. Compared with him, Bibi Dong was really child's play. Such people, in a sense, are all very simple. Becoming an enemy is an extremely terrible enemy, but if you become a companion, you are also a trustworthy companion. So, Chen planned to help her once. Light Ling Douluo frowned and looked at the three figures, two large and one small. After glaring at Yu Guan, he focused his attention on the smallest white-haired figure in the middle. Is this kid Chen? That he has a tall and straight body, a delicate face, and is still calm in the face of so many people. Regardless of his talent, this psychological quality is indeed good. Judging from this alone, he is a rare genius. Not to mention that it is indeed a certainty that he will be born with full soul power. Light Ling Douluo nodded appreciatively in his heart. He decided to tell his men to be gentle and wait until Bibi Dong's prestige had plummeted before bringing this boy to the angel lineage for training. Apart from this, there are still a few left, and he plans to bring back the Seraphim lineage. Thinking that all geniuses belong to Seraphim, Light Feather Douluo was very happy. He cleared his throat and showed a kind smile, but before he could open his mouth to win over, the white-haired boy spoke first. Well, I was just outside the palace and seemed to hear the plan for the 7 treasures glazed sect and the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex. Can I ask who said it? That the young man's words caused the faces of everyone present to change, and they all looked at him in surprise. What's going on? Wasn't this child brought by Yu Guan? Why are you starting to flatter Light Ling Douluo? Rebellious? Everyone looked at the livid Jew Douluo with schadenfreude. The actor they had worked so hard to find actually started to flatter Elder Guanling. This was really funny. Guanling's face showed an expression of extreme satisfaction. It seems that this guy is very knowledgeable. Little one, what do you think of this plan? Guanling Douluo's supporters stood up and asked impatiently, while raising their eyebrows at Ghost Jew Douluo. All eyes were focused on him instantly. Faced with so many gazes, the white-haired boy hesitated to speak. It's okay, little guy, don't worry, no one here can stop you from expressing any opinions. Light Ling Douluo waved his hand domineeringly. That's fine, the young man nodded, a smile appearing on his delicate face. I want to say, does the person who proposed this plan have a brain problem? Chapter 19 The Disdained Bibi Dong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is the person who proposed this plan mentally ill? Under the watchful eyes of most of the higher-ups of Wuhuan Palace, the young man said these words so lightly, the whole place was dead silent. Everyone present, whether they were elders or priests, opened their mouths in shock, and Ju Douluo and Ghost Douluo even took a breath of cold air. Even Bibi Dong, who was sitting on the Pope's throne, couldn't help but tremble and her beautiful eyes widened. This boy. You actually said in front of Light Ling Douluo that there was something wrong with his mind? Come on, are you kidding me? Even the old Pope was polite when he met this man, that is the 4 enshrinements of Wuhuan Palace, one of the most powerful people in this continent. The smile on Light Ling Douluo's face gradually stiffened. For a moment, he suspected that he had heard wrong. Have you been scolded? How many years, has no one dared to scold themselves in front of their faces? Now, being scolded by a 6-year-old child for having a brain problem? Boy, you'd better have a reason that satisfies me, otherwise. Light Ling Douluo suppressed the killing intent in his heart, the ice crystals in his eyes began to tremble and fall, and he stared coldly at the innocent-looking boy. Just tell your men to attack with all their strength later, let this kid spend his next life in bed. My lord, can't you see that? I thought you were a smart man. The white-haired boy spread his hands helplessly and looked at Ling Douluo with pity in his eyes. Everyone present took a deep breath, and Ju Douluo and Ghost Douluo were even more heartbroken, wanting to rush forward and cover Su Chen's mouth. I said, white-haired boy, this is not part of our plan. It's not enough for you to lift the tiger's beard once, and now you're standing on his head plucking his hair. This is not how you seek death. Okay, boy, you are very good. I would like to hear what opinions you have, if you can't tell me. Light Ling Douluo laughed angrily and said 3 good words in a row. The handsome young man's face was filled with a cold haze. Even with his self-cultivation, he couldn't help being looked up to by a child with an expression of pity. He has decided to let this kid die later. I can't speak of opinions, just some ideas. Su Chen shrugged, and his black eyes swept across the crowd. I would like to ask you all, if a country has been the leader of all nations since ancient times, and accepts worship and tribute from the surrounding people, it will be powerful in the world. So, when a smaller country takes offense, what should this country do? Some elders disagreed. Of course the thunder struck and destroyed it. But as soon as he said it, he remembered something and quickly shut up. Very good, this gentleman is very smart. But Su Chen wouldn't just let him go. The white-haired boy looked at him with a smile. What if that small country kills its king? At this point, everyone still doesn't understand that what this country represents is the Wuhuan Palace, and that small country is naturally the Haotian sect. I think it should be destroyed. The elder who spoke turned pale, and his lips moved and he could not say a word, because opposite him, an extremely cold one was staring at him. Very good. You are indeed worthy of being the elder of Wuhuan Palace. Su Chen nodded with satisfaction and looked at everyone again. Look, I know, other small countries also know, and they are all waiting for the country to use thunder to destroy all unstable factors that dare to offend, not to mention such a life-and-death hatred. In this case, instead of taking action quickly, the country tried to win over allies from other small countries. What does this mean? The boy's voice was very soft, but it hit everyone's heart like a heavy hammer. What does it mean? It means that you are no longer able to become this overlord. It will become a target for other countries to bite. Perhaps bowing down can save many soul masters from the risk of death, but it will also bury endless troubles in the future. There will be countless challengers to resist the overlord's authority. The young man's voice was clear, but it was like spring thunder on his tongue. It made everyone sweat profusely and breathless, but they suddenly understood. Seeing that no one said anything, the young man looked at the livid-faced Light Ling Douluo and blinked. Sir, you haven't told me yet who is the person who proposed this stupid plan. My 6-year-old child can see things, but he can't see it, and it's a shame. So, I suggest that the person who said this sentence be expelled from Wuhuan Palace, otherwise Wuhuan Palace will be dragged into the abyss by a stupid decision one day in the future. You think so? Damn it. Ju Douluo and Goe almost fainted from fear. Are you brave enough to scold me in front of your face? What does this mean? Killing someone but also killing your heart. Are you really not afraid that he will kill you with one slap? I really don't have time to save this. On the papal throne, Bibi Dong leaned forward, clenching her pink fists excitedly, her beautiful eyes shining unblinkingly at the white-haired boy in the crowd. Su Chen's words could be said to have spoken to her heart, and looking at Guangling's livid face, the Pope felt as happy and refreshed as if he drank an ice drink in summer. His long and beautiful legs were crossed, and an intoxicating smile appeared on his beautiful face. She just felt extremely happy. No matter what, she was determined to have this child, and she had to keep him. Even if she had to go to Qian Daolu and make a scene, she would not hesitate. Guangling Douluo's chest rose and fell violently, his facial muscles twitched, his expression was ferocious, and he had lost his previous handsome appearance. Ju Douluo was right, Guangling really wanted to kill this kid, but this was impossible, not to mention that more than 4 auras had locked onto him from the beginning. Guangling had a hunch that as long as he made a slight move, even if he released a little aura of oppression, someone would stop him. Moreover, if he really killed the future genius of the Spirit Hall in public, or because he was angry, the Spirit Hall would not tolerate him at all. Guangling Douluo, who had calmed down a little, restrained his killing intent and felt extremely aggrieved. Being scolded was fine, but the key was that he had no way to refute it. No matter how much he resisted in his heart, he understood that his way would indeed bring disaster to the Spirit Hall, but being taught by a 6-year-old child, even if this kid is a genius, is a disgrace to him. He seemed to be able to see the trembling figures around him. Are they laughing at him? This damn bastard. Humph, kid, don't forget the business. I hope your strength can be as sharp as your tongue. Guangling looked coldly at the black-eyed white-haired boy, and a cruel smile flashed across his mouth. I hope you can still be as proud as you are now. It is not convenient for him to take action, but it does not mean that others cannot. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Yes, no matter how good his eloquence is, strength is the first priority. The highlight is to see if he is as evil as described by Ju Douluo and Gue Douluo. Then everyone, please move to the square. You can tell whether you are a dragon or a snake at a glance. A clear and cold voice came from above. His Holiness the Pope slowly stood up, and his graceful figure was perfectly displayed under the Pope's robe. He gently held the scepter in his jade hand, and walked over with a swaying figure. Everyone bowed their heads and made way for him wherever he went. When she passed by Su Chen, she slowly stopped, leaned over, and a beautiful smile appeared on her pretty face. Little guy, after this test, come to see me alone, and I can meet one of your requests. If you win, there will be a reward. The refreshing fragrance came to his face, and the boy could feel the sweet breath between the red lips and pearly teeth blowing on his face. Su Chen frowned slightly, took a step back and distanced himself from Bibi Dong, and bowed slightly. Thank you, Your Holiness the Pope, I won't let you down. Just talk, why is this woman so close? Bibi Dong's breathing stagnated. Obviously, the boy's reaction was completely beyond her expectations. I am being despised. His Holiness the Pope was somewhat stunned. Which of the young men and women in the Spirit Hall would not flock to me when they see me? Putting aside my status and strength, just in terms of appearance, no one in this world can ignore me. Bibi Dong has this confidence, but the boy's half-step back and frown were not artificial, but he was unwilling to get close from the bottom of his heart. This is really, the first time. His Holiness the Pope's mouth curled up slightly, and he became more interested in Su Chen. Chapter 20 The Prize of the 10,000-Year Soul Bone, lasting for 1 stick of incense under the. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Spirit Hall, the square in front of the Pope's hall. The moon was bright and the stars were shining. There was not a single cloud in the clear night sky. The fog that lingered around the Spirit Hall had also dissipated a lot. Standing here, you could still see the lights of thousands of households in the Spirit City. Show it here. Bibi Dong smiled faintly on her delicate face, and pointed with her jade hand. I'm looking forward to your performance. The high-level officials of the Spirit Hall stood around in 2s and 3s, their eyes shuttled back and forth between the noble and beautiful figure and the white-haired boy, their eyes full of curiosity and exploration. Originally, such a small matter only required 2 people to stare and verify, but the Pope came out first, so what was the matter with them not coming out? This was the first time I saw the new Pope value a person so much. thinking of the outstanding performance of the boy in the hall just now. They were a little skeptical at the moment, who had sneered at Douluo's words at first. The eyes of the quick-witted people flickered, and they had already made other plans. Wait, His Holiness the Pope. Guanling Douluo stood up again, regaining his extraordinary demeanor, with a smile on his handsome face, completely different from the angry and twisted him just now. It's hard to convince people if it's just a demonstration. How about I add some prizes? Here it comes. Everyone was excited, knowing that this worshipper would not give up. Oh, His Holiness frowned slightly. What does Guanling worshipper want to add? Buzz. A hidden soul power fluctuation flashed. Guanling Douluo waved his hand lightly, and a dark red crystal appeared in his hand. That is. Douluo narrowed his eyes slightly, then his face changed, and he said in surprise, Soul Bone. Soul Bone. Chen was shocked when he heard the name, and couldn't help but look over. The whole body was dark red, crystal clear, and a hot and strong breath flowed in it, like a beautiful work of art. It is indeed a treasure of soul masters. Even though Chen cannot see anything due to his low soul power, he can feel that once he absorbs this soul bone, his physique and soul power will be greatly improved. In addition, he seems to have sensed a familiar and strange breath in it, but he is not sure. If it is really that kind of thing, this soul bone must be taken. Judging from its color and soul power fluctuations, it is probably a soul bone of at least 9,000 years, or even 10,000 years. Looking at this shape, is it the right leg bone? It is worthy of being the Guanling worshipper. He actually took out the 10,000-year soul bone directly. That everyone was surprised and talked about it. 10,000-year soul bones are extremely rare, and even for the title Douluo, it is a treasure that greatly improves. If it is placed in the outside world, it is enough to fight for blood and cause a bloody storm, but Guanling Douluo actually took it out like this as a prize for a show. Everyone smelled the unusual meaning in it. Your Holiness, how about this prize? The handsome young Guanling Douluo smiled and gently placed the soul bone on the stone platform in front. Elder Guanling is really generous, but it's a bit too expensive to take out a 10,000-year soul bone for such a childish play. The Pope's red lips moved slightly, and his beautiful eyes looked deeply at Guanling Douluo. Why don't you tell me first, how do you plan to show this little guy? She did not agree, or rather, she had begun to find ways to refuse. Guanling Douluo was willing to take out such a thing. I'm afraid he was prepared to make it impossible for Chen to get it. It's very simple. The handsome young man in a light gray robe blinked, and the ice flowers on his single eye flew off, causing the temperature around him to drop a few degrees. He smiled and raised a finger, revealing his white teeth. 1 stick of incense. As long as this child can hold out for 1 stick of incense under his attack, no matter what, this soul bone of the 10,000-year spirit fire fox is his. After saying that, Guanling Douluo clapped his hands, and a tall middle-aged man walked out from behind him with his head down. How is it? Guanling Douluo looked at Bibi, and finally stopped his gaze on Chen. Douluo frowned and felt it for a while, then his face changed drastically, and he held Chen behind him, and couldn't help but said angrily, You are so shameless to use a soul sect to test a soul master. Soul sect. Everyone was in an uproar, and their eyes went over one after another. After a moment, they looked at Guanling Douluo with a strange look on their faces. It's really a soul sect. No wonder he dared to take out the 10,000-year soul bone. Isn't it too shameless? This is no longer a question of whether he can get it, this is to let this child die. Didn't you say that this kid has a 1,000-year soul ring? It just so happens that my subordinate has average talent, and the 4th ring is only 1,000 years old. Besides, it's only for an incense stick of time, and it's not defeated. For a genius whose first ring is 1,000 years old, there shouldn't be any problem, right? Besides. Guanling Douluo's smiling expression suddenly turned cold, and his huge and turbulent momentum suddenly rushed towards Douluo. Who do you think you are? How dare you talk to me like this? The high-level title Douluo, the 5th worshipper of the Spirit Hall, suddenly revealed his terrifying power. Puff! Caught off guard, Douluo's face turned pale, and he spit out a large mouthful of blood. His breath instantly weakened, and his step staggered. If it weren't for the ghost Douluo who reacted and hurried forward to release his momentum to resist for a moment, Yu Guan would probably fall directly to the ground. Insolent, an even greater wave of soul power emerged, blocking Light Ling Douluo's momentum. Ghost Douluo, who was struggling to resist, suddenly relaxed and almost fell to the ground. Chen, on the other hand, was not affected at all under the deliberate protection of several people. Is this the strength of a high-level title Douluo? It really shouldn't be underestimated. The young man's face was a little serious. It seems that we need to focus on taking precautions against this person. The beautiful eyes under the Pope's crown were full of cold evil aura, her long pink hair was fluttering in the wind, and a huge spider loomed behind her, exuding an extremely terrifying aura. Elder Guangling, what do you mean? Click. The hard masonry screamed under the impact of the pure momentum, and dense cracks gradually spread. However, when the power reached the critical point, it involuntarily stopped. The confrontation between the two sides slowly dissipated, and the onlookers wiped the cold sweat on their heads and breathed a sigh of relief. One is the new pope, the other is an old supporter of the angelic lineage. If these two people really fight, they really don't know what to do. I'm sorry, His Majesty the Pope, you just taught a lesson to the younger generation who don't know their dignity. This woman has become so much stronger. Damn, she's still so young. Guangling cupped her hands, a trace of fear flashed in her one eye. I hope this never happens again. Bibi Dong said coldly. Besides, this kid won't compete with your soul sect. You know this old guy has no good intentions. You actually have the nerve to say such shameless words. The fourth ring is the millennium, the first three are just decorations, right? Wait a minute, His Majesty the Pope. Do I think we should ask the person concerned for his opinion on this matter? Light Ling Douluo hid his gloom and looked at Chen with a smile. How about it, are you willing? From just now, he noticed that this young man had been staring closely at the soul bone in his hand. That's right, even a titled Douluo cannot remain unmoved when faced with a 10,000-year-old soul bone, let alone a child. As expected, he heard Chen's answer. Of course I do.